This is the Wooting keyboard, a gaming keyboard that basically came out of nowhere. When the keyboard first arrived at my doorstep, I'll admit, I did not give it the attention it fully deserved. It just looked like any other mechanical keyboard that was given the full gaming experience. You know, minus that little appendage sticking out of the side. Granted, there were a few interesting features, like how the switches are basically cheating in video games, which we'll talk about later. But you should never judge a book by its cover, and that's a mistake I won't be making again anytime soon, because soon after, this keyboard quickly became known as one of the best gaming keyboards on the market, with people claiming how it's a must-have if you want to play at the peak levels in games like Fortnite, Apex, Valorant, and even Osu. So while I'm a little late to the party, I am here to put those bold claims to the test. Just because other people like it doesn't mean I'll give it a free pass. So, my goal with this video is to answer 3 questions. 1. Is the keyboard as good as everyone says? 2. Is it actually good for gaming? And 3. Is it worth the price of $174.99? Because let's be real, that is not cheap for a gaming keyboard. Now, I'll admit, that's a lot of questions to ask, but I do know a thing or two about keyboards, so let's dive right into it. Upon unboxing, one thing really stood out. The strap. What are those? And this strap is, it doesn't really have a function unless you want to swing it around your head like a cowboy, but I don't recommend that. Jokes aside, I just thought the strap was a gimmick to get everyone's attention, and in a way, it is. And it works! If you see a keyboard with a yellow strap poking out of it, you know it's the Wooting keyboard. Did you ever hear an idea so dumb that it's actually genius? Well, here it is! It also has potential to be a new way to accessorize your keyboard. I saw a photo where someone made a custom leather strap for their keyboard. So nice. I paid a little extra for the case and the wrist rest, and it was definitely worth it. The cable also looks good, and you get a few extra bits like a keycap puller and 2 extra switches. But those are just the appetizers. What about the meat and potatoes? The main entree? The juicy steak? The keyboard? Yes. There it is. On said keyboard, there is a small lip that extends in the front with minimal branding. It's not really necessary, but I don't hate it. The Wooting brand is a W, but it also looks like a crown. Many are calling it the king of gaming keyboards, so it's oddly appropriate. There is slight ribbing on the back, which is oddly satisfying to rub my fingers across, but upon realizing how disturbing this looked, I quickly stopped. But I couldn't control myself and kept doing it. And there are 4 yellow rubber feet on the back. Wait, I can see what they're doing here. It matches the strap. Yellow is associated with the sun. It symbolizes optimism, energy, joy, happiness, and friendship. But wait, on the contrary, it can indicate jealousy, betrayal, illness, and danger. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Now, the keycaps. They're bland, but effective. The keycaps are PBT, which stands for peanut butter toast. I mean, polybutylene terephthalate. I'm just really hungry right now, almost in hangry territory. In this case, the PBT material is a good thing. The keycaps don't reveal the nasty greasy marks from oils on your fingers, so if you enjoy eating french fries while gaming, like a degenerate, these keycaps are perfect. Can you stop rubbing the keyboard like it? Please? Oh my god. And the RGB shines through the keycaps brightly, so my inner 12-year-old is very happy. In the US, we can only get PBT keycaps, but in Europe, you have more options. So, you know, good for you. I'm just really happy that you get more options, Europeans. Good for you. For the actual build itself, let me tell you, it's like a perfectly baked biscuit. It has layers, flaky layers, and dang it, now I'm really hungry. It has enough layers to make a custom keyboard blush, which includes a 4mm slice of Poron foam between the plate and PCB, and a chunky piece of EPDM foam in the bottom of the case. Not bad for a gaming keyboard. If you don't know what any of this stuff does, it doesn't matter, it just makes it better. The case itself is unfortunately nothing special. It's a normal plastic 60% case, but Wooting was smart and made it compatible with other cases. So you can do an aftermarket aluminum case if you're feeling spunky, but you might not even have to. Wooting has been teasing their own aluminum case. So, coming soon? Now what we've all been waiting for. The switches. Oh, the switches. They are the real gold under the hood of this keyboard, and I've never seen a technology in a keyboard be so well thought out. But the switches are just the tip of the iceberg. You know how people say keyboards are a rabbit hole? Well, This keyboard is a rabbit hole all on its own. The switches are analog, similar to joysticks on a controller, if you remember what those are. Oh, of course you do, because you probably have a PS5. I wish I had a PS5. So instead of each key being either press or no press, you can do a quarter press or a half press, depending on how much of an input you want. This is helpful for driving games where you want the extra control. The first game that comes to mind is GTA 5, where the analog keys will give you that extra bit of steering to help you run away from the police and avoid the unlucky bystanders. But I hit them on purpose, so you get better at that too. But you don't have a numpad, so you can't fly the helicopter. The switches are also 100% contactless because they use this technology called the Hall effect. This whole concept is really confusing, but basically when you press a key, it uses electromagnetism to gauge the input. Big words, I know. But if you don't know what any of that means, just imagine when you press a switch, there's an invisible force created and the PCB just understands it somehow. Because of this technology, you can now set the actuation point at any point you want within 0.1 millimeter increments. Ooh. If you're into gaming, which I know you are, this technology is huge. It opens the door to so much customization and features we didn't even know we wanted as gamers. And yes, I am something of a gamer myself. It also turns out you can eliminate the deactivation time, like when you lift your finger off the key. It's a feature they've called Rapid Trigger. This is awesome for Valorant, as you can get rid of movement error faster before shooting. And if you don't play Valorant and have no idea what I just said, just know Rapid Trigger, good. And apparently, it's S tier for OSU nowadays, with people setting new records right and left. But the crazy part is, it's all just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what this keyboard is capable of. You also have features like dynamic keystroke, mod tap, and toggle key. Now, I'm not going to go in depth on each feature because we'll be here till next Friday. And honestly, I don't think I can explain what all those do. But they're cool. One of the coolest features is the in-browser software. Instead of having to do a sketchy, bloated software download, you can do everything in browser. I need every single keyboard on the planet to do this. The software itself is very robust and easy to use. You can set custom RGB profiles, do bird key custom actuation and rapid trigger settings, set up dynamic keystroke and mod tap and toggle key, and so much more. There's a massive database of different profiles that people have set up for a variety of games. So instead of configuring and testing it all yourself, you can simply download someone else's settings onto your keyboard and get to playing. I'm super excited to see what people come up with here. The best part is you can probably steal pro settings and be like, ooh, I play like a pro. But what about the keyboard itself? I mean, we can all agree the software is on a different level, but what about the sound and the feel of the build? Well, that's where there's room for improvement. The actual feel of the keyboard isn't bad, but I do have a complaint. The analog switches lack the oomph of a normal mechanical switch. When you press a key down, you don't get that same satisfying bottom out feel. In fact, the bottom out feels a little hollow. This has to do with how the stem is designed, since the stem pole doesn't hit the bottom of the housing, since there's no stem, and it results in something just not satisfying. It's weird. The switches do have a slight scratch to them, but to be honest, unless you are a custom keyboard snob, you will not notice any of these complaints. The keyboard's hot swap, so you can take out the switches and lube them, but keep in mind, you can't just swap them out with any mechanical switch. You can only use the Wuxing analog linear switches. If you want to make them heavier or lighter though, you can do a simple spring swap. And the stabs are really well done for a gaming keyboard. They're plate mounted with a generous amount of lube, and there's little to no rattle. If you do want to take it a step further though, you could lube them yourself and tune them more. But overall, it's a gaming keyboard. It sounds good, it feels good, and it's built well. If you can stomach the $175 price point and get value out of optimizing your keyboard layouts, I think you can justify the buy and not feel like it's a waste of money. Now here's what it sounds like until I get a chance to mod it.